Hello, folks. Cheers. It's me again. Well, hold on. We are talking about why Christian dating boundaries are not just about not having sex. Let me break it down for you if you're not familiar. In Christian culture and Christian environments, there is the belief that sex is sacred and it should be safe for marriage. And these are the values that Elijah and I hold to, that sex is something that is sacred and should be saved for marriage. There's a long list of reasons of why we chose not to have sex before marriage. And I've shared this before in previous videos, but Elijah and I walked into our marriage where I had not had sex, but Elijah, he had sex. And that comes with a lot of different dynamics in the marriage bed and in your relationship. But I will say our boundaries that we've created were not just about not making sure we didn't wind up having sex before marriage. Boundaries in your dating relationship, in your Christian dating relationship, are there for so many more reasons than to simply keep you from having sex. Because the Bible's clear. In 1 Corinthians 6:16, it tells us that if we have sexual relationships with somebody, we bind ourselves to them, not just physically, though that's the case, spiritually and emotionally. There's a long list of reasons why the boundaries that you've set in a dating relationship actually lead to a healthier relationship, even in the future, even into marriage. So I want to just break down a few points about why Elijah and I created boundaries in our dating relationship that weren't just solely about not having sex. There were different boundaries in our relationships that even were beyond physical boundaries, that were emotional boundaries as well. But if we approach boundaries with the idea that they are the thing keeping us from something, it's going to be really hard to just approach each situation, each opportunity to possibly get physical with somebody and say no. We have to have a vision in mind of what we are protecting. What is it that we're protecting when we are setting boundaries in our relationship? Boundaries are not supposed to necessarily be walls. They're meant to be fences. They're meant to be a fence so that only certain people in a certain time have the ability to enter. And so, for instance, when it comes to physical boundaries in relationship, there's only certain points in the relationship where you're going to open your fence to that person. So Elijah and I went about our physical relationship at the speed that our intimate relationship was progressing. However, there comes a point, say engagement, where you're really intimate with this person, yet still there's not covenant. And with a Christian faith, with a belief in the Bible and what it says, we adopted the belief and the value for our own relationship and our own lives, even separately, that we wouldn't have sex before marriage. However, we didn't just set boundaries in our relationship thinking, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex. We set boundaries with the vision of what are we protecting. Today, I want to list out 3 reasons why boundaries are so essential to really any dating relationship, and why not having sex shouldn't be necessarily the goal, though that is absolutely the result of the boundaries that you have in your relationship. And I feel like I need to point out that purity, first of all, purity isn't toxic. It is shame that is toxic. Purity is a gift from God. It says that in the Bible, it says, the pure of heart shall see God. I mean, wouldn't you want to have a pure heart? And I just have to say, purity isn't just about a physical action. Purity is a posture of the heart. So we need to be making sure that our boundaries are protecting our heart, not just our physical. We need to invite the Holy Spirit into this area of our life and ask him to help us and guide us, because like myself, I had no idea what the next step was. Like I had no idea how it was going to make me feel. So we need to bring that to the light and ask Holy Spirit, ooh, what do I do? Who can I talk to let them know this happened in my life? How can I get freedom and free of shame? Anyway, that's a small tangent. This is how I have found in marriage how our dating boundaries have benefited our marriage. And I'll say this, Elijah led this conversation from the get-go in our relationship. I remember when he asked me to be his girlfriend, it was very clear from the very first date that just because we are going on a few dates, it doesn't mean you're my girlfriend, and it doesn't mean I'm your boyfriend. I'll ask your permission, and I'll ask you to be my girlfriend when that time comes. But for now, we're just getting to know each other. But I will say, when he did ask me to be his girlfriend, and he sat me down and I said yes, and I remember asking him, what does that mean and what does that look like if I'm your girlfriend? And him laying it clearly like, this is what it means. It means I want to get to know you even more in depth. I want to commit to just dating you and just getting to know you in this season. And a couple days later, the conversation of physical boundaries came up, because I knew from the get-go, he's not going to hold my hand. He's not going to kiss me until we're boyfriend and girlfriend. And he brought up the conversation, hey, Alley, what are your boundaries? What are you okay with and what are you not okay with? And it left me actually not sure, because I had never been in a dating, like in a serious relationship. So I never had this conversation before. And I remember telling him, just because I'm like, I know from conversations with my friends, like what they have felt like is too far in the relationship, but I don't necessarily know for myself. So I'm like, I'm definitely okay with holding hands, with kissing. I think I'm even okay with making out. Little did Allie's mind know that she had no idea that there's so much gray space between kissing, making out, and having sex. There's a variety of choices you can make between all of those different things unto having sex with somebody. So it makes it even more important that, okay, how do I make sure that my boundaries are not so black and white, but maybe what it actually makes me feel? Where's the point that I know that I'm gonna, for lack of better words, feel turned on or feel like I'm out of control of my body, that my sex drive is going to feel more powerful than my logical brain? I didn't know in our dating relationship, so I actually rely kind of solely on the experience and the things that I had heard from other people of like, okay, these are probably some good boundaries for us. But what happens when you get to a place where you've maybe crossed the line and you've realized, whoa, that makes me feel things that I don't want to feel. Wait, I don't think that's right. I'm scared about what is on the other side of that feeling. And I'm talking about not just maybe even an emotional sensation, but maybe even a physical sensation that you're feeling. Where and how do I know that my no is going to be able to stay no? It wasn't that just a physical boundary was our boundary. It was that the boundary was that I don't want to push myself to a place where I don't have control over my own sex drive, that I don't know what's on the other side of that feeling and that emotion. And so actually what that boundary created for us was an opportunity to build trust with each other. When I knew that I could trust that he was not going to cross a boundary, and when I communicated that that's too much, that's too far for me, and he respected it, that I could trust him even more in our relationship, in other areas of our relationship, not even just physically with my physical sense. The other way our physical boundaries helped benefit our marriage is that going into our marriage, there's a lot of preconceived ideas or pressure around who you need to be sexually for your partner. And I think because we had so openly communicated about our yeses and our nos physically, that when we stepped into marriage, I didn't feel pressure to have to say yes all the time. Like, Elijah knows I love you to pieces, but I also know that you're going to respect my no because you love me more than the physical. that's been huge in our marriage. It's allowed us to be able to stay connected, even if there was opportunity to feel rejected by somebody saying no, by me feeling like I want to have sex and Elijah doesn't. Like, there's just been practice in that area. There's been respect for each other's boundaries. And granted, it's so different when you're in marriage. Like, sex is a completely different thing. The Lord created that for a beautiful, beautiful purpose in marriage. It is for good. It is so for good. Another way these physical boundaries, or just boundaries, helped benefit our marriage is that I actually was able to fall in love with Elijah as a person before just physical. Like, we didn't have a physical relationship before we had a emotional relationship. I was able to make sure that he was my best friend, that I wasn't just infatuated with his body or vice versa, and had a clear mind. Like, we had an intimate relationship, not physically, before we were physically intimate. And that's what stands the test of time, folks. Like, it is someone's character and personality and all those sorts of attributes that stand the test of time, not physical. We are going to get old and gray and all sorts of things one day, but I want to make sure that I love this person for who they are, not what they look like. And I would say that's huge. Like, I had such a clear mind when stepping into engagement and into marriage that I love this person, not just because I want to have sex with them. So there it is, folks. There it is. And then I lastly just want to say, for the person that maybe has felt like they've gone too far physically with somebody, that's not too far gone. Like, the decisions and the experiences you've had in the past, it's simply the past. It's not who you are today. And so I just want to make sure it's clear that our sexual past is a symptom of who we were. It's not a reflection of who we are. So there's so much redemption in Elijah and I's story, not just physically, but emotionally. And I just want to say, like, nothing is too far gone. And if there's shame about what has happened in the past, there is so much freedom when we bring things to the light. And I would say for Elijah and I, there were boundaries that we crossed in our relationship. There were times we found ourselves in a dark room and we were like, whoa, we are going way too far. We need to go talk to somebody about this. We need to bring this to the light. Otherwise, shame is going to rob and root and dig deep in our relationship. So I just want to encourage you and give you some key little tips about why boundaries are not so cringy, but they're actually there for a beautiful reason in a dating relationship. So guys, let me know what other kind of videos you want to hear, or videos you want made, or etc. But we'll see you next time. Over and out.